Hi. I'm a 37-year-old mom. First off, let me start by saying that my 13-year-old daughter Maya was suffering from blood cancer, and it was incredibly hard on her because of how weak she was. We've seen some pretty awful days. I was exhausted, I had zero strength to handle it. It was just me and my husband doing everything. My parents themselves been dealing with health issues, but my brother and his wife only visited a couple of times, and that was it. My brother's wife made some backhanded comments about Maya's health, and look, while Maya was struggling, Maya cried twice because of her insensitivity and lack of consideration. We kept our distance from her and my brother and focused on Maya. It's been nearly over a year now, and Maya is in good health, and I'm so thankful for that. Last year, unfortunately, we didn't get to celebrate her birthday due to circumstances, but this year her grandparents said they wanted to celebrate her birthday at their house. I agreed. Maya has a wonderful relationship with her grandparents, and I knew she'd want to go celebrate her birthday with them. My mom invited family members. My brother and his wife were already there, since they always visit. Things were going great. Family members showed up with gifts and more sweets, and also took pictures. However, once Maya started opening her gifts, my sister-in-law got up while my brother was asking for a minute because he said they had something to announce. By the look on his wife's face, it seemed like it was planned. My sister-in-law announced that she and my brother were expecting, and everyone started congratulating her and hugging my brother. I was standing next to Maya and I noticed she was uncomfortable. Sister-in-law basically stole my daughter's birthday to announce her pregnancy, even though she could have picked another day. Maya seemed upset until the party was over. She didn't even open some gifts as everyone else was sitting and talking to my sister-in-law. We left an hour early, and once I got home I called my sister-in-law and asked her why she thought it was okay for her to ruin my daughter's birthday and crush her spirit after having been through so much that this party was needed. I basically lashed out at her and told her she could have picked another day. But she pulled the whole family was there, so I couldn't miss the chance nonsense. Maya stayed in her room after that, and she even refused to look at the pictures we took. I got into an argument with my brother telling me I shouldn't berate his pregnant wife and scold her like that. He said she didn't do anything to me, so I needed to apologize for being mean and rude to her for no reason, but I refused and turned my phone off. Not the idiot. You never steal another person's moment to announce one of your own. Ever. I don't care if it's the only time in the next decade everyone will be together. You don't steal someone else's moment. And especially not the moment of a kid who's had a very rough year, probably terrified that she wouldn't even see another birthday, and finally gets to have a celebration in a little normalcy. Your brother and sister-in-law deserve to be raked over the coals a few more times. And can the rest of society agree that the appropriate response to this sort of behavior is "that's nice, but not now," and go back to celebrating the original thing? Not the idiot. If it was that important to announce it right then, she could have reached out and coordinated something with you. Like at some point Maya could be like, "I think my next present is in Auntie's tummy," so Maya could be part of it, or have it be announced at the end as everything was winding down, so Maya still got her party. Or just do it at Christmas and New Year's. But mid-presents, no. Present time is present time, and there should be no interruptions, especially of that magnitude. You should announce your next pregnancy when she delivers. Just say it was a false positive on the pregnancy test. When we found out I was pregnant, we announced at a birthday party. The party was for my brother-in-law and my husband's grandma. I asked my brother-in-law and mother-in-law if it would be appropriate to get a gift that was letting my husband's grandma know she was going to be a bisexual. They both said it was fine. At the party, we announced it. And then my husband's cousin also announced their pregnancy. We both did it with either full permission, or they announced theirs, so it's okay to announce. However, this is the norm in my husband's family, because my husband has 7 biological aunts and uncles. And it's such a huge but close family. However, not every dynamic is like this. And getting permission to steal some thunder is 100% necessary. Not the idiot. My 30M girlfriend, 27F, is Indian. She moved to United States a few years back. I'm American, white, if it matters. We live in North Carolina. My GF loves to cook. She told me so on our first date. However, I'm not the biggest fan of Indian food. I find that a lot of spices used in Indian food irritate my stomach, and I have a very low tolerance for hot and spicy foods. She never had an issue with this, and never forced me to eat anything I didn't want to. In fact, whenever I stayed over, she made me things like pancakes and French toast, and they were incredible. She is a very good cook. 2 weeks ago, we moved in together. Our place has a large, fully equipped kitchen, and my GF was ecstatic about all the things she can do. I was happy to see her so happy. However, in all our excitement, I didn't realize how our food preferences can actually become a problem. You see, I didn't realize that she cooks and eats a lot of Indian food. Like, all the time. For the past year, whenever we spent time at each other's apartments, she's always made me things like ramen, pasta, lasagna, tacos, soups, grilled cheese, etc. I figured that that's what she normally ate. I have a few Indian American friends, and they've told me they don't exclusively eat Indian food at home, so I thought it was the same thing with her. Yesterday, she was super excited to show me something and dragged me to the kitchen. There, she unveiled a whole drawer of spices. We're talking 20-30 different types of whole crushed powdered spices, neatly stored in glass bottles and labeled. I asked why she needed so many spices, and she replied, to cook Indian food, silly. I told her that I didn't like Indian food, and she told me not to worry, she wouldn't force me to eat anything. That it's just for her meals, and that she'd made separate meals for me. I asked her if she could simply not cook Indian food at all in our house, because the smell is so pungent, and if she'd cook regular food instead. She told me that Indian food is regular food for her, and I'm going to have to get used to it. I insisted, and she said that she'll only consider giving up cooking Indian food if I give up cooking meat at home. She's vegetarian, because she doesn't like the smell of meat being cooked. I told her that it was an unfair ask because she never objected when I cooked with meat at my apartment. She told me that she's only demanding that I give it up because I'm doing the same thing to her. I got quite mad and told her she was being extremely unreasonable as I need meat. I work out a lot and I need the protein, but she doesn't need to eat Indian food all the time and can order takeout if she craves it. She told me that restaurants are not very good where we live and that it's unhealthy to eat takeout every day. We ended up arguing for a while, and now we're not talking to each other either for insisting that she doesn't cook with spices. You're the idiot for using the words regular food alone. India is a huge country with a lot of cuisines. Even if your GF only cooks food from one region, there are dozens of dishes she could make. Not all Indian food is hot or spicy. If you don't like any spices, including savory ones, and only like bland food, so you're asking her not to use any spices in her cooking, then yeah, that's totally unreasonable. This is the food she grew up with. Of course, she would eat it frequently. And her giving up her familiar food in exchange for you giving up meat. That was an extremely generous offer, much more unfair to her than to you. I don't think you two can live together, if you really don't want her to cook her food. You're the idiot. As a South Asian, how do you expect to marry a South Asian without liking South Asian food? Our blood is literally made of 30% cumin, turmeric, and coriander. South Asian food is a huge part of our identity, especially for immigrants. Asking her to not make Indian food is literally asking her to not embrace or celebrate her identity. This coming from someone who was always subconscious about how my clothes smelled like human going to school and, sadly, being embarrassed about my heritage. Not gonna lie, not liking Indian food would be such a big deal breaker for me. Do you not like warm hugs on a plate? So I'm dating an Indian guy, and have heard the exact same sentiments come from his mouth. No restaurant is good enough. They don't cook food from his home state. To the point he wants to crowdsource home-cooked meals for the homesick. Difference is I love Indian food, and gladly eat whatever he cooks. Only thing I ask, is that he tone down the salt a bit. If you feel this strongly then I don't think you are compatible, and should part ways. Also you're stereotypical for all the reasons others have pointed out. It's her home too. And Indian food is regular food. It was supposed to be my brother's, 14M, turn to do the dishes, and he either forgot or completely disregarded about it, so I, 16F, had to clean up the sink and dishes at 9 p.m. I noticed some sound coming from the cabinets, and realized that there were trash in the small gap between them towards the back. So I found myself a thin stick and tried to clear the things out. There were much trash inside, potato chip wrappers, Swiss wrappers, some unknown wrappers with stain, rubber bands, tissue paper and biggest of all a crushed cereal box. To my horror I saw a whole nest of large cockroaches coming out from the cereal box. I am terrified of cockroaches, and our kitchen had been free of them since recently. Guess I know where they came from now. With a scream I tossed the box away from me and out came approximately 5 cockroaches. There were more coming out from the cabinet gaps too. All that trash made a good nest. I stormed to my brother's room and pulled him up from his game, demanded to have him clean all that crap up. He isn't afraid of cockroaches. He initially refused but reluctantly came when I insisted. When he picked up the cereal box, without warning he threw it at me. and it landed on my face, and with it the cockroaches running down my hair and clothes. Here comes the idiot part. I had a complete meltdown as I screamed my lungs out till my throat gave in, and not even my parents could hush me when they came. When I finally calmed down, we heard knocking at our door as our concerned neighbors called the cops after hearing my screams. My parents were very embarrassed, and after the cops left blamed me for overreacting. I pointed out that it was my brother who did not do his dishes, stuffed trash into the cabinet gaps resulting in cockroaches, and threw them at me when he knew I am scared of them. Furthermore, I couldn't control it, I lost it. They don't buy that and just kept scolding and blaming me as my brother laughed from the side. I had to take a shower and bury myself in bed crying. Am I the idiot? I sure hope not, but if I am, then at least I know I deserved it. Not the idiot. Your brother and parents are idiot. My elder sibling had a huge fear of roaches. One time my parents tried pranking them by throwing a roach at them. It was a watermelon seed. They screamed and cried hysterically. My parents tried to say they were overreacting, but I backed my sibling. My parents knew about her fear, and still did a nasty prank. In the end, my mom did apologize and hugged my sibling with a promise to never do it again. Your idiot brother threw a cereal box full of roaches at you. I would have shrieked too and beat the ever-loving crap out of him. I would return the favor to your brother if I were. I am petty as hell. Esh. I have suffered from panic attacks and have some phobias. However, that doesn't mean you keep screaming until your throat goes out. I understand how upset you are and you have every right to be, but you did take it too far. Obviously your brother is the biggest idiot. I hope he got in trouble after you went to bed. And your parents are idiot too. However, the people talking about CPSBC the roaches, obviously no one knew all the rappers were back there. Not sure where OP lives, but some places it's super hard to get rid of them, and some places have them, even if your house is clean. I have seen this in Hawaii. Oh my god, I am so sorry this happened to you. As someone who is also extremely afraid of bugs, that sounds like a horror story. You should absolutely never ever feel bad about what happened, no matter what your parents tell you. If they responded halfway decently, they'd be coming down hard on your brother for making the mess that attracted the cockroaches in the first place, and then being cruel enough and having the sheer audacity to throw them at you. If I were in your place, I would have reacted a lot worse than that. I seriously hope that there are consequences for your brother. My friend and his GF of a few months came by for dinner and drinks this weekend along with my fiance and a couple other mutual friends. At some point I took off my wedding and engagement rings, so I can cook and get chicken all over my hands. Salmonella is bad to kids, without worrying about them. After we eat and dishes are placed in the sink, I reach blindly for my rings, since I always put them in a specific notch in the counter, and only feel one. Cue panic. I asked everyone if they've seen the wedding band anywhere, or if it got knocked off the counter, and it got to a point where I was on all fours on the ground hyperventilating while me and our friends searched. I showed them all a picture of it in case, and the GF goes, "Oh, that thing. I thought it was foil, I threw it away." Record scratch. Taffik. Everyone was staring at her, and I'm pretty sure my face was changing colors more rapidly than metal under a blowtorch. She starts giggling and points at the trash. The trash is about half full of food prep stuff and puppy pads, because we have a disabled French bulldog that literally can't control his bowels, so yeah. Pads. What, it was an honest mistake. You left it with the other foodstuffs, and I was just trying to help. I asked if she was serious and she shrugged and repeated that it was just a mistake, and the ring would most likely be sitting on top of everything. Cursory glance at Nope. My saint-so offers to dig it out, and I was too furious to say anything, so I just nodded and glared at her. My friend, the BF, helps him too, and they do end up finding it after nearly puking from the dog do. After they washed it off, they placed it on a towel to dry, and the GF still kept saying that she accidentally mistook it for foil. I turned to her and in a calmness that afterwards left me shaking and lightheaded said, "You need to leave now, before I crush your face, because I accidentally mistook you for cockroach." My friend and her gasp and our other friends kinda stared at each other and back at me. GF bursts into tears and storms out. My friend follows her after an angry glare at me. Our other friends told me I took it too far, and maybe she was just playing a prank, etc. They even mentioned that it was because my wedding band was not that expensive. It wouldn't have been a big deal if we lost it. I so asks them to leave too, as I am about to lay the wrath of God into them. So, am I the idiot here? Did I overreact? Not the idiot. Actually, the majority of your friends behaved horribly. If it was an accident, she would have felt horrible. I scooped up some stuff from over there on the counter to throw away. Oh my god. Let me help look in the garbage in case I threw it out. She screws, big time. And I don't care if it costs $2, it's your freaking wedding ring. How were people acting like it was nobody? Also, as the owner of a high-maintenance English bulldog, kudos to you on taking such good care of your Frenchie. It's not easy to deal with disabled dogs, or inexpensive. So you're a lovely doggy angel and can do whatever you want, forever. You're officially never the idiot. Not the idiot. How are people saying you overreacted? She was being an intentional total witch. She knew it was a ring because it was very clearly a ring, and she also must have seen it on your hand 100 times before. There is no way in hell she mistook it for foil. She then threw it away in the nastiest trash can, so that when you started frantically looking for it, you'd have to dig it out of the trash can. She did not apologize and did not even offer to search through the trash for it. She was giggling half the time. You are in no way an idiot for getting that upset, and for calling her cockroach, because what she did was super hurtful and malicious, and she should be treated accordingly. Not the idiot at all. Maybe, just a little overreaction, but I don't blame you. She didn't do it by accident, and it looks like it wasn't also a prank. I've seen people do things like that. It seems she's jealous of you, or some other weird thing. She did it on purpose, but later she regretted when saw your reaction. The fact that she never apologized, and just kept giggling would infuriate me also. Also, it doesn't matter what was the monetary cost of your rings, what matter in this case is the emotional value. It is your freaking wedding and engagement rings. It could be made of plastic, but still would be unique.